Hello, 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 everybody. Good evening, good morning for those of you that are on the other side of the world. My name is Cory Kromray. I'm the Executive Vice President of Global Trading here at IX Global. I'm the CEO and founder of Driven Trading, and I'm super excited to share with you guys tonight in detail why I believe the understanding of the financial markets and learning how to trade the financial markets is not only the highest paid profession, it is now becoming a life skill. And if you don't know this yet, and if you don't understand, how to read financial data, I'm going to tell you right now, in the times that we live in today, you are really missing out on what could be some of the prime earning years of your life. I'm very excited to share with you guys tonight, just so you know a little bit about me. I want you to know as I go through the information, I may to you sound polished, professional, salesy. I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm just very passionate about my craft. I'm passionate about what I do. And I want you to know also, this is not something that you need to, go out and seek some, extraordinary master's degree for, right? I'm a 16-year-old high school dropped out of high school when I was 16 years old, got in a bad car accident, ended up having to leave school and, was working in my young adult life as a construction worker for $10 an hour cash, washing dishes on the weekends for $7.25 an hour. And I did that pretty much all the way until I was a young adult, 21 years old. And I got introduced to entrepreneurship and realized that I had the ability to do anything that I set my mind to. And I always believed, that I was kind of on this path where I was either going to be pounding nails for the rest of my life or I was going to be washing dishes, right? The only side of life for me was maybe I could be a foreman of the construction crew or maybe own my own construction company one day, or maybe I can own a restaurant. But however, both of the jobs that I had, I absolutely hated. So my whole entire purpose in life at that time was figuring out how to get out of the situation that I was in. I'm now 37 years old. I have two beautiful children, 8 and 6 years old, two boys. Been married, been with my wife for 14 years, and been very blessed and fortunate to have learned the skill of trading because it changed my entire life. I got into entrepreneurship at 21 years old into the direct sales space. While everybody told me it wasn't going to work and everybody told me, these are those things that go through town, I didn't really have too many options. I made it work. I said, well, if somebody else has made it work, I'm going to make it work too. And once I educated myself on what the industry actually was, I was able to make multiple seven figures in that industry. And then I realized everything that I did in my life moving forward, anytime somebody would tell me something wasn't going to work, it was just even more within me to find out the real truth and the real factual information behind it, right? A lot of the things that we look at out there today in society, we go to try to make these changes in our lives. And what happens is, you go out and you're on this destiny for change and everybody comes into your life and they say, oh man, that's not going to work for you. Oh, I know somebody who tried that before and they failed and all this stuff. But what you don't understand is that those people are probably more afraid of you actually making it or it actually working because misery loves company and they don't want to see you accelerate in life further or faster than them. That's what I realized in a very young age. How does a 16-year-old high school dropout go on to make multiple seven figures in business, 8 figures in business, right? It was because I kept my mind open, right? I realized that, the people that I was getting information from weren't necessarily the people that had the results in life I was looking for. And I needed to go find the people who had the skills, the people who had the results, and the people who had the life that I wanted to live. I had to define my life first. I had to learn from somebody who had achieved that life. And then I had to ultimately just do what they told me to do. We're taught in school that copying is bad, but when you become an adult, copying's really good. If you have somebody that's successful and that knows how to make money or that knows, how to read financial data or that knows how to do this or knows how to do that, if you can follow that individual, you can ultimately create shortcuts and these quick paths through the minefield. And I'm going to tell you guys, for me, my first 6 years as an entrepreneur were quite a challenge. My first couple of years, I didn't make any money at all. I invested a ton of money. I got nothing out of it other than I was growing. I was learning. I was educating myself. But by my third year, I was making significantly more money than I was making in a full-time job. And by year 5 and year 6, making money that I never dreamed possible for myself. I've had every single dream car that I ever could imagine, the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, the McLarens, the, Black Series AMGs. I mean, I think I've had, 30 sports cars in the last few years, you know what I mean? Just any car that I can imagine. I'm a big car guy, houses that, I would put on my dream board when I was young. I've been able to achieve all of that stuff just by keeping an open mind. So tonight, as we go through this information, I want you to do the same thing and keep an open mind, right? Sometimes you look at things and look at new skills and you think that that's scary. I thought the same thing. I learned about the industry of trading while I was on the golf course one day. In 2012, I was kind of at the pinnacle of my, networking career, and I had went out and started a consulting company. I was helping, companies attract young entrepreneurs, and I was getting paid very well as a consultant, managing multiple clients at the same time, making seven figures, you know what I mean? As a 16-year-old high school dropout, making seven figures as a consultant. I had billionaires, you know what I mean? I tell this story all the time. I had a guy that was worth $7 billion that was paying me as a consultant to formalize his growth strategies for his companies. I always tell people it's so funny that a guy paid a 16-year-old high school dropout a lot of money to help get his company on the right track, right? So it's not about your education. It's not about graduating high school. It's not about having a Harvard degree. If you have those things, congratulations for sticking it out and seeing it through. But what I can tell you is self-directed education is really what creates long-term sustainable wealth and fortune for you and your family. I read books from the people who had the results in life I was looking for. I followed these people. I listened to them. I embedded this stuff into my soul, right? I read books like The Secret. I read books like Think and Grow Rich, and I implemented everything, which is a key point, guys. As I get into tonight's presentation and I unpack everything that we offer as a company, I want you to understand it really starts with an individual decision, right? I can share the information with you all day long, but it's if you act on that information, that's what's going to really make the difference in your life, right? Information comes into your mind. It forms in your mind. If you don't act on it, that last part, inform action, right? Nothing changes. For me, I was looking for change. If you're on this presentation tonight, a family member, a friend, coworker, whatever it may be, invited you to take a look at what we're doing, first of all, I would actually thank them for inviting you onto this presentation. It just means that they thought highly of you. I don't want to sound salesy or pitchy to you. I just want to share with you a skill that I obtained in my life back in 2012 is when I started. And it's a skill that has given me the ability to make money since then without ever having to rely on anybody again for a paycheck, not a company, not any type of anything, right? Just it's a skill that can produce tremendous results if you apply yourself. And that skill is trading the financial markets like S&P 500 and like NASDAQ, like the stock market. I was out on the golf course one day and I was golfing with this guy. He was the captain of the Ohio State Buckeyes golf team, right? The college golf team. I was a big Buckeyes football fan. And so I became really good friends with this guy. He lived in the same condominium complex as me. And I was at the end of my rope, right? I had this consulting empire, right? I was building this thing. I was in my mid-20s and I had zero time. Like when I'm talking about being 25 years old and almost on the verge of having a heart attack, I'm dead serious. Flying 250,000 miles per year, gone for 3 weeks, home for a week, gone for 3 weeks, home for a week, literally had no time to enjoy any of the money I was making. Didn't have time to invest into the relationship I had with my now wife. And I had to make some decisions. The problem was I didn't really have too many skills. I knew consulting in that industry that I was working in, and I knew how to pound nails and I knew how to wash dishes. That was it, right? Like I always thought like I got lucky being in this situation. So what am I going to do that's going to be different? Maybe I'm going to go into real estate, but I don't know anything about real estate. And it was on the golf course where I'm golfing with this guy, and it was more of an annoyance. He was always on his phone looking at these, what I know today as price charts. And it was like, come on, buddy, it's your turn. There's people waiting for us. You know what I mean? And this guy, he's just like, oh man, he's like, I just made enough money to pay for golf, pay for breakfast, pay for lunch, pay for dinner in the last 5 minutes. I'm like clicking those buttons on your phone. Like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm trading the stock market. And little did I know that this guy would lead me into what would catapult my entire life and catapult my entire career. In 2012, I started going to these meetup groups on Tuesday and Thursday nights. Meetup was this little red app on your phone. I don't know if it's even a thing anymore, but they had these meetup groups Tuesday and Thursday nights in Tampa, Florida, and they were teaching how to trade penny stocks. I went there, guys, honest to God, as a way to meet new people. We were brand new to the Tampa area. I was trying to meet some friends. There was a lot of prominent business people that went to these meetings, and it was really a hobby for me, right? I was treating it like a hobby, and I was about really 10 months into going to these meetings, and I just had fun going to them, right? It was a cool time to go out and hang out with the guys. We always went and grabbed a beer afterwards. And, there was this guy, it was actually I don't know if you guys have seen these ads, but this guy named Timothy Sykes, right? Timothy Sykes was a big penny stock trader. It was one of his top students, right? He was a big 7-figure penny stock trader. And honestly, I didn't really even care about all that stuff, right? I was dabbling in it a little bit, started off with a small account, was just growing it. And what was really fascinating to me was in about 10 months into the journey, I ended up getting my broker statement from the company that I actually had managing my money at the time. I had made decent money as a consultant and as a networker, and I had Edward Jones managing my money, right? You got Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley's of the world, right? A lot of the things that your bank offers to you, usually if you're a private banking client, right? And, the consistent portfolio is, if my portfolio is doing about 6 to 8% a year, I'm doing pretty good. And I was doing good. It was only my second year with a money manager. My first year, I was just over 8%. Here was my second full year. I would just get my statement, and they did 12.4% on my portfolio. And I was excited about that, right? My money's going to 12.4%. But my little penny stock portfolio was up over 30% in that same 10 months, right? Well, this was a year with them, but in that same 10 months, my penny stock portfolio was up over 30%. And honestly, I had no idea what I was even doing at this time. I mean, I went through a couple courses. I was kind of dabbling in this thing. My money was going up and down, and over 30%. And honestly, guys, I was so blown away when I got that broker statement from my money manager, a professional portfolio manager, a guy that I'm paying to manage my money. And I sat there, and the consultant in me said, well, number one, what if I actually put some effort into this, like learning this skill? Like, I haven't really put in effort. I go to these meetings twice a week. I've been going to them now for, 10 months. I've been kind of hanging out with these guys. I went through a little bit of the curriculum, but I really have been kind of putting my very little bit of spare time that I have into this thing. It was really, like I said, more of a hobby for me. But to be up double what a professional portfolio manager was on my money, it got me excited enough to dig really deep and go and figure out what this financial world is all about. And in 2013, right, this is kind of like my first real year of taking this seriously. I remember coming home one day, and I told my wife, my girlfriend at the time, I was like, listen, babe, I think I found what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a stock trader. And, of course, my supportive wife is like, sure, babe, go for it, right? Like, she was always super supportive, but here's another one of your things, like, go chase it, right? And I did not know that this was going to change my life forever. Guys, about a year into my trading journey, I got introduced to something called Forex, which is the foreign exchange markets, trading currencies. I realized you could buy, hundreds of thousands of units of a currency. And as it fluctuates against that other currency, you can buy and sell, and it goes up in value and goes down in value. You can actually make a bunch of money. You could get leverage on that money. And this is way before the ability to get funded and all that stuff, which we're going to talk about tonight. But I fell in love with this industry, guys. I fell in love with it. I made it my passion. And what I realized very quickly is that, this is also something that you need a mentor in. I got humbled very quickly. And when I went into the Forex industry, I was doing really good for about 5 months. I was making, what my money manager was making on my money per year. I was making that sometimes per month for about 5 months. And then everything tumbled and everything started to come down. And I lost almost half of my portfolio within a 3-day period of time because I didn't really understand the dynamics of how these markets worked. And I realized, and this is after me almost quitting and everything, I realized, this is a skill that you really have to take seriously. And I also needed a mentor. I went out and sought a mentor. In fact, I spent multiple six figures, right? Multiple six figures, well into the 150, 160,000, maybe even almost 200,000 up to this point on education, learning from some of the top traders in the world. And I came back into the industry after taking a break, trading live money, went through all of these courses, all of these curriculum, paid all of these guys to mentor me and coach me. And they brought me back into this industry, and I was able to take my account, and over the next 18 months, I was able to grow it from $100,000 to $1 million right? And I'm sure a lot of you are sitting here saying, like, I ain't got no $100,000. That's okay. I'll show you how to get $100,000 very quickly here in a minute. But see, I had to put up all of my own capital. I had to take the risks on all my capital. This is how it worked back then. The landscape has changed significantly. So in 2014, all the way to 2016, I was doing really well. I was consistently doing what they were doing a year on my portfolio. I was doing that month over month, 8 to 10% a month over month, consistently. And in 2016, I realized that the next level for me was to go into private equity management. Went into private equity management, managed the top grossing private equity portfolio in the Midwest, was in the top 1% of profitable portfolios for 4 consecutive years, in the top 1% of profitable portfolios at one of the largest brokers in the entire world. I mean, I'm talking 400% years. I mean, really, really grabbed a hold of this and made it my magnificent obsession, right? You know, Napoleon Hill always talked about in the book, Think and Grow Rich, you have to be obsessed with what you're doing. And I was obsessed with it. I would speak to myself every day. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm the best trader in the world. And I became one of the best traders in the world, made millions of dollars, Ferrari in the garage, multi-million-dollar home. My backyard looked like a country club at a golf course, right? It was amazing. But from the outside looking in, I had it all figured out. I was 211 pounds, 45% body fat. By the way, you're looking at me at about 175 right now. I was 211 pounds, 45% body fat. And I realized I just spent the last 5 years of my life, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, living my life behind a computer screen, making rich people richer. And yeah, I got rich doing it, guys. I'm not going to lie. I got rich. I got super wealthy. I was able to buy things, but I was empty, absolutely empty on the inside. And I'm telling you this story for a reason. So please stick with me, right? I really want you to know who you're dealing with here. I really was empty. I had no passion. I didn't have friends, right? Everything was just really like trade during the day, manage all this money for all these people, and, you know, ultimately kick my feet up, watch the news, and go to bed. And that was my life. It was a vicious cycle. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I was doing the same thing over and over again, knowing exactly what the result was going to be. I was going to make more money. I was going to make these people richer. And ultimately, that's it. I had no life outside of what I was doing. And I realized I had taken a skill that was really designed to create freedom in my life, and I turned it into a job for myself. I had all this responsibility. I was managing millions of dollars. And, you know, when you have, you know, millions of dollars in drawdown on accounts, and you have all the stress going through, you know, I'm trying to raise kids and a family. And I just realized that at some point, you know, enough is enough, right? You think that money and the pursuit of money is going to make you happy. It's not. In 2020, when the pandemic happened, I saw all these people around the world getting locked down and getting in their houses, losing their jobs. And I realized that this was my shot. You know, I was going to go into the financial education industry. And, you know, what's normally only available for accredited investors, right? Like all of you have access to your typical traditional investment vehicles that do 6 to 8% a year, if they're even doing that anymore. And I know the stock market last year lost about $9.2 trillion. Majority of people I know that have their money managed have lost money, or they're down, and they're looking at a 5 to 12 year recovery on their losses. But if you did make money and you were making money previous to that, you know, I just want to say that what your typical traditional money investor does in a year, it is not hard at all, to do in a month. It's actually very easy. In fact, all of the hedge funds out there, if they're not doing 6 to 8% a month, they're not even classified a good hedge fund. The good hedge funds do sometimes 12%, 13%, 15% a month. But you don't know about that. Because, you know, if you're not an accredited investor, if you don't have $1 million net worth or more, if you don't get invited, if you don't have private placement, then you'll never have access to that type of growth on your funds. So I was thinking in 2020, what if instead of making what's normally only available to accredited investors, what if you could actually take the skill of obtaining it and teach it to the masses? And I started to evaluate the education industry, and I realized it's just flooded with misinformation. It's flooded with these so-called gurus that are going to sell you the idea of making money in the financial markets, but none of them know how to do it, right? They're trading demo accounts in front of you, but you think that they know what they're talking about, right? Because you don't know what you're talking about. So you buy their courses, you spend tons of money, and you go through all of this stuff. And I was sick and tired of looking at this stuff. I said, you know what? I'm going to disrupt the education industry. I'm going to build a small team. I'm going to run that team like a Wall Street hedge fund. If I was managing $1 billion portfolio on Wall Street, I would put a team of people together to manage that portfolio. We wouldn't compete against each other for profit. We would work together as a cohesive unit, as a team, to build that fund and grow that money, and then we would all eat. I said, what if you could build an education team like that? Some of the best traders in the world in NASDAQ, S&P 500, Forex, gold, silver, cryptocurrency, licensed traders, licensed educators, Series 65, Series 3, Series 31s, CPAs, CTAs. What if you could build a team like that and bring education to the masses, to be able to go to anywhere around the world and take anybody from any walk of life, and as long as they have an internet connection, that you could take that individual and teach them how to trade professionally, how to manage risk, and how to make a full-time income off trading the financial markets. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we did. In 2022, we launched Driven Trading. I'm actually going to pull up a slide deck, and I'm actually going to show you some slides. I'm a very personal guy, right? So I don't really like to talk with slides a whole bunch, but I'm actually pull some of them up here just to kind of give you a visual. Give me 1 second. Okay. So Driven Trading, guys, is a company that I launched in Gary, I think. Okay, we're good. Driven Trading is a company I actually launched in 2022. And I launched this company really out of necessity. See, in 2020, I had so many family members and so many friends of mine and you know, so many people that I knew through my friends and my family that were really having hard times and going through a lot of stuff. And everybody would always ask me all the time, hey, can you manage some money for me? Hey, can you manage my money? Hey, can you manage my portfolio? Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? And, you know, a lot of my circle at that time, I mean, you know, they're not accredited investors. They don't have, you know, a bunch of money. And it was like, hey, I got 10 grand. Can you manage it for me? Hey, I got 50 grand. And I just wasn't there. I didn't do that, right? It was, you know, I managed big portfolios, like $250,000 was the minimum investment for my registry and everything that I was doing. So I wanted to help them, but I didn't have a vehicle to help them, right? I just couldn't do it. And I started to feel bad. And at the end of the day too, it's like, if I could teach somebody how to fish and how to do it, and they were willing to put in the time, energy, and effort, if I was willing to put in the time to them, would it be possible for me to teach an individual that skill? And I didn't know how this would go, guys. You know, what I saw there was a bunch of people hungry to learn the skill in the industry. In fact, there's been over 100 million brokerage accounts opened in just the last 3 years. 100 million people have applied for retail broker accounts. That means to trade and to manage your own money. 100 million people just in the last 3 years. So the industry is exploding. You know, the Forex industry is a $7 trillion a day industry. The derivatives industry is quadrillions of dollars. You know, so when you're looking at the amount of money that flows through these markets every day, instead of putting people in a position where they can just invest their money and you could grow their money, you can do all that stuff where they don't get invited into those hedge fund style offerings. What if you could actually just teach them how to do it? Because guys, the skill of trading is actually very simple. It's a very simple process. It requires a little bit of patience, a little bit of discipline, but the charts do the same things over and over again. And I'm going to show you some examples of that tonight. I'm going to show you tonight and hopefully convince you tonight that you can actually do this. And I'm not telling you it's going to happen in a week or 2 weeks, or you're not going to triple your money in 30 days. I'm not that guy. I'm a guy who's done this for a long time. I do this for a living, made millions of dollars doing this. And I actually trade my live TD Ameritrade account 10 hours a week live and let you copy everything that I do every single week. And you see the wins, you see the losses. We've done over 11,000 pips. For those of you who know what that is, 11,000 pips in the last 3 days. That's what even the best trading companies in the world do in like 4 months. We did it in the last 3 days. And we do it live. Why do I trade my live accounts in the trade room? It's not to boast. It's not to brag. It's not so you can see how much money I have. It's to show you the transparency. You see the wins. You see the losses. You see where I'm entering the market. You see where I'm exiting the market, right? It is full disclosure, full transparency. And that's what you're going to get from every single one of the traders that we have on our team. One of the biggest things that catapulted me into this industry, guys, and really catapulted me into entrepreneurship was this quadrant right here. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a book that was written by Robert Kiyosaki. He's one of the top financial authors in the world. He wrote a book called The Cashflow Quadrant years ago. And he talked about the whole entire wealth situation in the world, right? And he talked about employees, and he talked about 95% of the population. And I didn't realize this when I sat in the meeting for the first time in 2008, and I saw this graph. This graph changed my whole life. It's what made me an entrepreneur. He said 95% of the people in the world, they're employees, they have a job, and they control only 5% of the global money supply. So 95% of the population creates 95%, or creates 95% of the population controls 5% of the global money supply. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, so everybody that's self-employed, everybody that's an employee, right? When you're an employee, you're told when to go to work, when to clock in, when you can take your lunch break, when to clock out, how many hours you got to work. And then you think you can do it better than your boss. So you go start your own job. You're the first one on the job, last one to leave, and the last one to get paid. 85% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. Another 75% of those fail in the next 5 years. And by, year 11, maybe 1% of those businesses are still standing, especially in today's economy. You got 800 million jobs predicted to be lost in the next 5 years. 800 million jobs, they're saying, are going to be vanished in the next 5 years and replaced by robotics and artificial intelligence. That's crazy, guys. So whether you do this or not, you have to have a plan B. You have to have a plan B. I just truly believe that there is no skill more essential to the American dream, or any dream in the world, than learning how to make money with your money. See, on the left side of the quadrant, where 95% of the people reside, they do control only 5% of the money. That's okay. So I was like, all right, show me how to get to the other side. Do I got to go get a top college degree? What do I got to do? And when I realized that the 5% of the people that control 95% of the money, they're either, number one, business owners, where they own a system. This is more a franchise format, like a Starbucks or a McDonald's, something that operates and makes them money, whether they're there or not, right? They can set up people, they can set up locations, they can multiply those locations, and they make money while they sleep, right? It's a systematized cash flow business. It's a pipeline, right? So on the left side, you're going to the well, filling buckets of water and filling buckets of water from the river and dumping it in the well. But on the right side, you just build a pipeline, and you might sacrifice some time. You might take some time away from your family. You might cancel pool league or golf league or, volleyball. And you might take that extra time and build a pipeline so you could turn that faucet on and have that money flowing. That's a systematized business. And then in the other side, you have investors. And when Robert Kiyosaki talked about investors, he said, you got to have $250,000, be able to lose $250,000, not lose sleep that night and play the game the next day. I was like, well, I'm definitely not in that quadrant. You know what I mean? So what can I do to build myself into this right side of the quadrant? And I realized the only thing that separates people from the left side and the right side of the quadrant is different information. It's just receiving information from the person who has results you're looking for and doing what they say. One of the biggest things that I have found as an entrepreneur throughout my entire career, which I've been very successful in multiple businesses and have consulted for billion-dollar companies, I've done a lot of really cool things, right? Today, I can say I've actually accomplished quite a bit, and I actually am fairly smart, right? In the most unegotistical way possible, right? What I can say is that there is nothing that I've ever seen in my life, and I've experienced a lot. I've experienced a lot in the business world. There is nothing that I have seen that is more easy and practical for the average ordinary person from the average ordinary walk of life that maybe has unordinary dreams and goals in life. There is no skill more practical than learning how to trade the financial markets. Like I said in the beginning, I believe that this is a life skill now. And if you know that the only thing that separates the people on the left from the people on the right is different information, what if you had the ability around the clock, 6 days a week, multiple times per day in multiple languages to get that information live, right? Live. See, in Driven, I wanted to do things a little bit different. I looked at all the education companies out there. I saw everything that they were doing. And I'm going to tell you right now, some of them are good. Some of them have actually good, legitimate education. And the ones that do typically are very expensive. There's 5-day seminars for $25,000. You sign up for their course for a year and it's $10,000 minimal investment, right? And you work with these guys and they're good and they'll teach you the correct way to trade. And there's a lot of people out there that know the correct way, but then there's some people that have that edge. There's some people that have competitive advantage. There's some people that have learned how to make this their mastery. They made it their craft. They've made it their obsession like I have, right? Like a lot of our traders have. And so when we designed this academy, we said, listen, for me, guys, personally, it took me about 2 years to get to the point to where I was making a multiple six-figure income in trading, right? It took me about 2 years to master the craft. I've been doing this now since 2012, right? So over a decade. Now I can actually say that I have completely mastered the skill of trading, master the financial markets, right? When you've mentored people to become multimillionaires in the industry, I would say that you master it, right? We helped over 1,000 people last year get funded, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. See, in 2020, these brokers that have substantial amounts of liquidity, billions of dollars that they have in their holding, they ultimately make that money available for people like you and me. Right? If you can show that you know how to trade, that you can manage risk properly, that you can consistently, steadily grow an account, and that you have a good strategy because of COVID forcing everybody to work from home, these trading floors that were taking place all around the world from all of these large brokers in the world that were all running these trade floors, once they figured out that everybody can manage this capital that they had remotely, they started making it accessible and available to average, ordinary people that have unordinary goals in life, that just maybe dream a little bit bigger and can learn some new skills. So our whole academy was designed to, if we take all the information, now this is me and our team of educators, right? Some of the best, right? Like I said, Series 65, Series 3s, Series 31s, licensed securities licenses, fund managers, people that manage millions of dollars, people that have done this for a living, have make their full-time income off trading. They trade their live accounts in front of the trade rooms. This isn't like anything you've seen before out in the industry, or, hey, my friend tried that. No, your friend didn't try this. Because your friend will probably be on here, or maybe your friend did try this and they're the one who invited you on here tonight. Our academy was designed to do a couple things. Number one, it was to make it as simple as possible for the brand new person who's never looked at a price chart before in their life to get started, and also go through a process of education that keeps them engaged, that keeps them consistently focused, and also gets them results very quickly. We wanted them to be earning money while they're learning the skill, an earn while you learn model. So our robust education system was designed to, number one, eliminate all of the white noise out of the market. I studied, like I said, really close to $200,000 in education and courses and curriculum and strategies that I spent my money on. I realized 90% of all that stuff I spent money on, don't need to know it. You don't need to know it at all. In fact, the majority of the courses and all the strategies and the secret sauce that this guy has or that girl has, you don't need to know it. It is very simple to understand how money flows in the market. It's very simple to understand how institutions, hedge funds, banks, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, all these banks enter their money into the market. And it's also very simple to identify when they're coming into the market and how to align your money in the same directional flow with theirs and let them push you up and down the chart. See, it doesn't matter if the market's going up or market's going down. You can actually make money consistently in either direction. Our entire academy is designed to take you right to the source, right to the sauce, right to how do I make money in the financial markets? Of course, you got to go through some of the basics. What is a price chart? How to read a candlestick? What does it mean? All that stuff. It's going to take you a little bit of time to get through it. But what if we could take you through a process, and I'm talking to the brand new person. You've never looked at a chart before in your life. What if over the next 90 days, could you commit about an hour, maybe an hour and a half every day for the next 90 days to literally learn a skill that could pay you a tremendous amount of money for the rest of your life? Never have to rely on a boss, never have to rely on any other skill. As long as the financial markets exist, would you put in the time, energy, and effort if you knew you couldn't fail, right? If you knew that if I apply myself, I know that I will win and see it through. Because, ladies and gentlemen, just last year, April 1st, 2022, from April 1st, 2022 until December 31st, 2022, we helped over 1,000 people. I want you to think about this. 1,000 people in our first 9 months of business get funded through prop firms, through brokerages, the companies I talked about that are willing to give you money if you can show that you can trade and manage risk successfully. Over 1,000 people funded with $100,000, $200,000, $500,000, $1 million accounts. Can you imagine making 8 to 10% a month on a $1 million account and being able to keep anywhere between 75% and 90% of the profit that you make for managing that capital for that broker, for that liquidity provider? See, that's what exists today. See, in 2020, all these brokers realized that they could take this liquidity and they could go find real, raw, true talent out in the marketplace, because so many people were aspiring to do more, be more, and become more in life. People were getting that entrepreneurial drive. People were being forced into that entrepreneurial drive. So what if you could actually obtain a skill from people who've made millions of dollars in this industry, that do this for a living consistently every single day, multiple days a week, in multiple languages, multiple different traders, educators, Spanish, English, Portuguese that we're now adding, pretty soon Mandarin. We actually have the fintech of the president of fintech Malaysia coming on board. We actually have the former director of institutional securities trading for Morgan Stanley coming on board to run our options division, right? Out of the top 1% futures portfolio, one of the largest brokers in the world for 4 consecutive years, probably have another big grossing year this year as well, because it's been incredible so far. But while the rest of the world is losing, how do the people that know what they're doing win? While the stock market lost $9.2 trillion last year, I had, over the last 4 years, it was actually one of the strongest. It was the second highest grossing year that I've had from a percentage standpoint, well over 100%, right? I'll just leave it at that, right? By the way, past performance doesn't guarantee or predict any future result. Just because I did it doesn't mean you will. However, I teach you every single thing I know. Noah DeFreitas, our VP of all trading education, Series 65, Series 3 licensed educator. He's one of our top crypto guys in the entire world, right? He's a crypto expert. What if you could learn directly from a guy like that, right? Manages a crypto hedge fund, manages, mega money, and does it for a living, and trades his live money. And you got a guy like John Liel, right? Our VP of Spanish education, one of the top NASDAQ traders that I've ever met in my life. You got a Justin Adams, one of the pioneers of trading education, has impacted over 1 million lives through trading education. What if you could assemble a team like that? And there's more, right? There's more, guys. I could go on and on about these guys. But if you assemble a small team, you run it like a Wall Street hedge fund, a 65% month-over-month win rate on contract, average out every 90 days. If you lose 3 trades in a row, you got to get permission before you execute the next trade from me, myself directly, or Noah, our VP of education. So we make sure that nobody ever goes on an emotional implosion, right? We run it with zero ego. If a trader's struggling, the other trader goes in to help that trader figure out where they're struggling. But these are all professional, elite level traders that are unegotistical, that all have the same common goal and purpose. Can we actually teach and impact 1 million people through the understanding of the financial markets? Our goal is to help 1 million people as a company become professional, funded, full-time traders, to build a professional trader development factory. And we're so confident in our education right now, just after a year, just over a year of being in business. We're so confident in our education that we believe we can go into any country, anywhere around the world, and take any individual from any walk of life and teach them how to be a profitable trader within 90 to 120 days, without question. And I can back that statement based on the actual results of people that we've already done it with, right? People we've already done it with. People who have never looked at a chart before in their life, and they're now funded traders with hundreds of thousands of dollars to trade and manage from brokers and prop firms, keeping 75 to 90% of the profit consistently. Because not only do we give you all the education, 6 days a week, several times a day in multiple languages, we take you into the live market with us, and we show you how to apply everything that you're learning in our courses to the markets in real time. We also teach you our exact strategies. See, one of the things I did when I assembled this team, I said, guys, listen, I know you've all made millions of dollars in this industry. I know you're all very successful traders. And I know you all have that secret sauce, right? Like your secret strategy of how you enter a trade, or how you exit a trade, or how you mark up a chart, whatever that secret is. If you're not comfortable sharing that secret and sharing everything you know about trading and your actual strategy and your trade plan and your checklist and all of it, like literally everything. If you can't share all of that and you're not comfortable doing it, this is not the right team for you to be on, because I'm not holding anything back. This isn't something that I have somebody sign up for and pay, a monthly subscription. And all of a sudden I'll say, oh, well, in order to learn how to actually do it, you got to pay 25 grand. This isn't a bait and switch. This is a company that is purposefully driven to change the world through financial literacy and financial education. We have some of the top financial literacy coaching out there as well, because it's not only important to grow as a person, right? That's obviously a big thing, right? Patience and discipline and mental capacity is 85% of trading, but learning the skill and teaching you how to make money. There's also teaching you how to keep that money, taking you from, maybe your $3,000 a month or $5,000 a month salary, or maybe $10,000 a month salary. And all of a sudden you're making 30, 40, 50,000 a month, 60,000 a month, 100,000 a month. Sometimes without the right financial discipline and financial education, you can actually end up worse off rich than you were not so rich, because you don't understand. Once you get to that level, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, the money's going to keep coming in. Oh, this is crazy. And I'm going to go buy all these things that I can afford right now. But if something happens, you're not prepared for it. All of a sudden you owe this big tax bill and multiple six figures of taxes. I'm speaking from experience. Right? I was a construction worker, $10 an hour cash, washing dishes for $7.25 an hour on the weekends. And all of a sudden making 80, 90, 100 grand a month. I mean, nobody taught me how to manage money when I was a kid. I didn't learn how to even balance a checkbook in high school. And I'm sure a lot of you haven't either. So one of the big things that we focus on as a company as well is financial literacy, to not only teach you how to grow as a person and make more money, but teach you how to keep that money and then grow that money. Teach you how to make money. We teach you how to keep that money. We teach you how to grow that money. Teach you how to diversify. Teach you how to be mentally strong and really smart for, ultimately what's to come. When you learn how to read the markets and read the world through the lens of the financial markets, you're untouchable from a financial standpoint. Like, you can see things coming before they even come. Like, even with COVID. I'm a guy that's got Bloomberg terminal in my basement, right? So a nerd, right? I'm a nerd. In November 2019, I could see all this money, massive money, pulling out of one of the strongest bull markets we've ever had, moving into surety bonds. This was in November 2019. I told my, fiance at the time, babe, I think we're going to war. The only thing that I could imagine that was taking place was that we're either going to war and somebody knows about it, or something crazy is going on. And then all of a sudden COVID happens. Now, I'm not saying it was related. I'm just telling you what happened. But when you know how to read the financial markets, that people talk about, oh my gosh, there's a recession coming. Do you know that a recession is nothing other than a transfer of wealth? Literally, guys, a recession is nothing other than a transfer of wealth. If you can position yourself at the forefront of those major economic movements by understanding what's taking place, positioning yourself and your family in front of the movement, capitalizing on the movement, and being prepared for the movement. When those big, deep recessions and depressions happen, they create more millionaires than any other times in history. The darkest times create the richest moments for the people who are prepared. So make sure you have your house in order. And I'm not saying that this is something that you had to do, but I'm saying this. I've not seen anything in my life, right? Which is why you hear me so passionate about this. I've not seen anything in my lifetime that is more powerful than true, authentic education of learning this skill. We're not the company that's going to sell you the algorithm that's doing, 10% a month, that hasn't lost a trade in 3 years, and then you buy it and it implodes 2 months later. We're not that company. We're not the company that's going to do it all for you. You just invest with us and we're just going to trade it all for you. We're not that company. We're the company that says, listen, with a little bit of hard work, with a little bit of dedication, and a little bit of sacrifice of some time, energy, and effort on your end, we're going to sacrifice the time, energy, and effort away from our families and our freedom to help you win, And while you're learning and while you're growing, okay, while you're going through the education, while you're attending our live classrooms and copying us, what we do in our trade rooms, and entering when we enter, and trading what we trade, and learning all of it, you're also going to have an app, okay? This app is called the Driven Trade app. And what we do is every time one of our traders is going to enter the market, We send out the exact entry price of the exact pair or asset class. We give you all of our profit targets. We give you exactly where our stop loss is or our cutoff point. Like if the trade goes beyond this level, you have to cut it. It's a stop loss. So we give you the exact risk, the exact reward, multiple profit targets, our exact entry price, and we send them out to you as educational trade ideas that you can follow along with, earn while you learn with, and really catapult yourself further faster, right? Now, there's been other signal platforms before. People have, launched copy and trade, copy trade programs, but not one that's monitored like ours, right? All you need to do is get started in our program and go download the application on your phone. And we actually publish all of the wins, all of the losses, all of the percentage rates of the traders and how they win, how many times they hit TP1, TP2, TP3, TP4, TP5, how many times they hit stop loss, how many net points and net pips positive they do consistently. We publish all of the data in real time. All the data. Data can't be controlled. It can't be manipulated. None of it. Real-time data from all of our traders, and you can follow along. You can copy it and paste it in your own accounts, your practice accounts, your real accounts if you want to, right? That's up to you, right? You can pick a broker of your choice. You get to manage your own money. You get to keep 100% of the profit when you're trading your money. We don't touch it. We don't take a profit. We don't say, hey, listen, we're going to teach you how to do this. You stick your 10 grand in an account and we're going to take 10% of everything you make for the next 5 years. No, this is legitimately us saying, listen, we're here to create the biggest community of successful, profitable traders that's ever existed in the world. If you want to be a part of it, I can introduce you to now thousands of people that just over the last year and a half are successfully trading and making a full-time income following our education model. We just launched a partnership with our funding partner, Impact Trader. We actually went out and found a liquidity provider with broker capital to actually get traders funded. We can get you funded with $100,000 accounts, $200,000 accounts, up to $500,000 accounts. By the end of September, over $1 million. So if you can show that you can consistently manage risk, you can show that you have learned enough to consistently make money without losing it, that you can consistently follow the rules and be disciplined, we can get you funded. $100,000, $200,000, $500,000, $1 million accounts. And you can keep up to 90% of every single dollar you make trading other people's money. That didn't exist when I got started in this industry, guys. It didn't exist at all, but it exists today. I don't believe there's a better time in history to learn how to trade the financial markets. I believe that we're going to experience one of the biggest transfers of wealth in history. I believe that the people who understand the right skills, that understand what's coming, that are prepared with the right information, and they capitalize on that information, I believe more wealth will be created for average people who felt like they didn't have a shot in life. I believe more wealth will be created for those people over the next 2 to 3 years than any other time in history. Like, think about it. We used to grow every 3 years. There'll be like 5 million new millionaires. Over the last, I think, 3 to 5 years, it's either 3 or it's either 5. Over the last 3 to 5 years, there's been 25 million new millionaires. 25 million new millionaires just in the United States. 25 million new millionaires. That's insane, guys. There has never been a better time in history to learn new skills, to create new situations for your life, okay? From the very basic of education. I've never looked at a chart before in my life. I have no idea what any of this is. To the person who has a little experience but has never made it consistently, long-term, or successfully. Or maybe you've never even taken a withdrawal out of an account and you've blown every account you've tried. From beginner to funded trader, we have every single piece of information that you could need to learn. And we believe that we can take you on that journey And the majority of you, right, if you don't have learning disabilities, or, maybe some of you are a little bit older and might maybe need a little bit of time, right? I got a guy, he's a good friend of mine. He's one of my mentors, right? 76 years old, right? He's a little bit older, right? A little bit more dinosaur. He's not too tech savvy. So it's taken him a little bit longer, but he's been following me and learning from me over the last year. And since this last October 2022, he's been consistently making on average 6% a week on his money. Consistently. 6% a week. 76 years old. And it doesn't matter what age you're from, what walk of life you're from. It doesn't matter where in the world you're from. If you have an internet connection, if you have the access to learn, and you have the drive and the hunger and the discipline to see it through, I promise you, there is no better company in the world that's here to guide you, hold your hand, and coach you through the program. We have Prop for Mastery course. We have advanced curriculum, basic curriculum, intermediate curriculum. We have all of our strategies for each one of our educators. Their exact strategy of how they conquer the financial markets every day is taught. We have an exclusive partnership with Impact Trader. All driven members get 25% off their assessments. You pay like, $300, like let's just say, for example, and you get funded up to $100,000 or something like that. There's different testing fees for each different test. We get you a 25% discount on the retail pricing of all of those tests, right? From Impact Trader. They have over $1 billion in liquidity committed to the program, and everything that I talked about, guys, everything. We only charge $175 a month for. $175 a month. You can cancel anytime. Right? You never have to worry about, am I on this thing and it's going to build my credit card? No, none of that, right? It's you cancel anytime. We're not in the business of selling courses. We're in the business of changing lives. We're in the business of helping people get free, period. I'm going to show you guys one more thing here. Before I wrap up, I know you guys have been super patient. So this is from yesterday. So yesterday, guys, in our trade room. So this was live yesterday, okay? So between yesterday, the day before that, and today, for those of you who understand trading, we did over 11,000 pips in 3 days. 11,000, okay? For those of you who don't know what that means, this chart right here, this is called a candlestick chart. And these are called Japanese candlesticks. And this is the price chart, right? Yesterday, here is the market open, right? 9:30 a.m. Everybody knows the New York Stock Exchange opens at 9:30 a.m. So the market opened right here, okay? And this was the market yesterday. In this time frame, I have it on a 15-minute time frame. Each one of these candlesticks represents 15 minutes of time, okay? Yesterday, in our trade room, we took an entry right here, okay? At 45.56, I believe was the entry. Okay, 45.56. And if you don't believe me, once you sign up, you can go into the app and you can actually see the signal was published in the app. In fact, I'll get the exact data for you right now. So yesterday, the trade was called out. 45.56 was the exact entry. The stop loss was 45.50 right here. So that's a 5.8 point or 58 pip stop loss. And our TP5 and our target was 54 points. That means for every 1% you risk, so for every 1% of your account balance that you would have risked on this trade, you would have made 9%. So if you risked 0.5%, you would have made 4.5%. Total portfolio growth on this one trade. This trade lasted for 17 hours. What I used to make in a year with my portfolio manager managing my money, I was able to make in 17 hours just yesterday. I'm giving you an example for yesterday because it was a great day, right? And for those of you who are in my room, I'm sure you ate well, right? But I called out this trade live in my trade room yesterday. And you know how many lives get changed because of these type of trades, this type of information. Here was another trade that we called out yesterday. The entry was right here. Look at where the entry is in this market. How do we know that that's where the market's going to reject? How do we know that that's the floor of the market? How are we so precise to where we can get almost a 7-to-1 risk to reward? So the S&P 500 trade was a 9-to-1 risk to reward. For every 1% you risked, you gain 9%. This trade that also happened yesterday in the same 17 hours was a 7-to-1 risk to reward, meaning for every 1% you risked, you gain 7%. So if you would have risked, let's just say 1% on S&P 500 and 1% on NASDAQ, you would have done 9 plus 17, whatever that equals. 16%. 16% in 17 hours. See, this is a normal thing. See, people think, well, that's impossible. That's way too good to be true. No, it is very possible. In fact, the average hedge fund out there does 8% a month consistently. And sometimes they get really good days like this. Now, are you going to risk 1% on every execution? Probably not, especially as a beginner, but you probably risk 0.5% or 0.25%, right? 0.25%. If you just looked at this trade right here alone, so if we go back to S&P 500 with this 5-point stop loss, if you just risk one E-mini contract, it's $50 times 5. So just to give you an example, so 50 times 5, that's $250. So a $250 risk for a $2,800 profit in 17 hours. And this was just not a lucky situation that happened yesterday. It also happened today. And it also happened the day before that. And it happens consistently, week over week, month over month, for the last year and a half, consistently, that we've been doing live streamed education. So I don't know where you're at in your walk of life right now. I don't know why you're even on this presentation right now, other than somebody probably invited you to, take a look at some information and to see maybe if there was an opportunity for you to change your life. I'm in a situation right now where my whole entire life is dedicated to giving back to as many people as I can, because I've been very blessed and fortunate to, at 37 years old, and actually since 33, I've been able to do this, but at 37 years old, to be able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, wherever I want, anywhere in the world I want, to be able to be home with my kids every single day, 6 and 8 years old, to not have to watch them grow up on videotape, to be able to be at every single soccer game, every single sporting event, every single thing that they have, to be there for them, to be able to be a dad, right? And if I can give that back to you, to teach you how to live a life based on your priorities versus your obligations, to maybe just have a little bit to do with it, then that's what drives me now. I realize when I get these messages from people talking about how I've changed your life and I've changed your life and all the, it's all of them. And it's you, when you come on board and when you join us, it's you that's going to do the work. We're just going to be here to assist you. And yeah, does it make me feel good when I get those messages? Absolutely. That's why I do this. And I'm going to be selfish to say there's nothing in my life that makes me more happy than when somebody messages me and say, my whole entire life has changed because of this information. Guys, if you're sitting at the edge of your seat, sitting at the edge of your bed at Dark 30, like I was, watching infomercials on how to buy and sell real estate with little, no money down. And really, that was it. I was at the end of my wit's end. I didn't know what to do with my life. I'm literally watching infomercials at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's where I was at when I found this information. If you're like me, I'm just going to tell you this. What do you have to lose, right? Like I said, we're not in the business of selling courses. If you come in and you're not satisfied and you don't like it, you hate it, I'll personally give you your money back in the course. We're not in the business of selling courses. We're in the business of changing lives. We're in the business of helping those who want to win, period. And we're here to guide you. We're here to coach you. We're here to support you. We're here to help you earn while you learn. There's everything to gain and nothing to lose, right? You are going to put some time into this. And yeah, I can't give you your time back, but I'm going to tell you right now, I can't see a better way to spend your time than learning a new skill that can set you free for the rest of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like I said, I'm not the most polished professional person in the world, and I'm very excited and passionate, and I might not relate to you. Please don't judge the information based on me, but do get back with the person who invited you onto the presentation. Do take a look and do get started, and at least take a trial and go through the information and see what we have to offer as a company. And I promise you, if you could just give us a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, we'll meet you right at that same pace, and we'll help you go the extra mile and help you win and make all of your dreams come true. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful night.